Nobody warns you when a door closes. That is the cruelest part. Imagine a 37-year-old analyst, competent, dedicated, with 10 years at the same company. He applies for a leadership position and loses to a colleague with half his experience. Nobody explains why. The directors wouldn't even know how to explain it, because the decision wasn't made in the interview. It was made months before, in silence, every time he walked down the hallway with slouched shoulders, a wrinkled shirt, and the expression of someone who is simply surviving the days. He never received a warning. He simply stopped being considered. And here is the truth I need to give you right now before anything else, because you didn't come here to receive promises, you came to receive answers. Your appearance doesn't just change the way others see you. It changes the way you see yourself. And when your self-image changes, your attitudes change. When your attitudes change, your results change. That is the invisible chain that governs a large part of your life, and in the next few minutes, we are going to go down it link by link, layer by layer, until we reach the root that almost nobody has the courage to face. Because the problem was never the clothes. The problem is what the clothes reveal. Let's start with the outermost layer, the one the world touches first. You need to understand one thing: you are never silent. Even when you don't say a word, your body, your posture, your clothes, and your countenance are transmitting a continuous announcement about who you are and how you treat yourself. The human brain forms judgments long before hearing any words, and it does so because it was designed to quickly decide whether what is in front of it represents strength or fragility, order or chaos, presence or absence. This isn't fair. But Napoleon Hill already observed that the world doesn't pay for what you know, it pays for what you do with what you know, and the first thing you do in front of anyone before any words is appear. Think of a woman who arrives at a neighborhood meeting to propose a change that nobody supported. She is not the richest person in the building, nor the most eloquent. But she arrives with impeccable clothes, an upright posture, and a steady gaze. The proposal is the same one another resident presented months before and was ignored. Hers is approved. The content was identical. The packaging decided it. And if the outer layer has that much power over strangers, imagine what the next layer does to the people who decide your future. Because there is a silent tribunal operating around you every day, and you are never informed of the verdicts. Every opportunity has a guardian, and every guardian is reading you all the time. The manager who decides who takes on the project. The client who decides whom to trust. The person who decides whether to accept a second date. None of them will give you a report explaining why they chose someone else. Think of an honest used car salesman who knows every vehicle on the lot better than anyone, but serves clients with a 3-day-old unshaven beard and a faded polo shirt. Next to him, a colleague who knows less but presents himself impeccably. At the end of the month, the numbers do not lie, and he attributes the difference to luck, to the location, to fate. The hard truth is that the clients weren't buying the car. They were buying trust, and trust has an appearance. Few people realize this. You don't lose the opportunities you compete for. You lose the opportunities that never even reach you because they were silently redirected toward someone whose image said, "You can trust me." But if you think the most important verdict is that of others, get ready, because now we descend to the layer where the true secret lives. The most implacable judgment you suffer every day doesn't happen on the street nor at work. It happens inside you. There is something nobody told you. The most attentive observer of your appearance is yourself. Every time you dress haphazardly because nobody is going to see me today, someone saw. You saw. And your brain registered that as a testimony of your own worth. External behavior profoundly influences how you perceive yourself, and that means your clothes are not just a message to the world. It is a message to yourself, repeated daily in front of the mirror without witnesses. Think of a man who has been working from home for 3 years. At first, he dressed as if he were going to the office. Over time, he started working in pajamas, then he stopped shaving, then he stopped looking at himself in the mirror. He swears nothing changed, but his ideas became more timid in virtual meetings, his voice lower, his projects more modest. Nobody demoted him. He demoted himself, one day at a time, one choice at a time, before the only audience that never leaves. Stop for a moment and reflect. What testimony have you been giving yourself every morning? Because that testimony is building something much deeper than self-esteem. It is building the next layer of our descent, your identity. Napoleon Hill taught that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But there is a detail that almost everyone ignores in that phrase. Believing is not a thought, it is a state, and states need evidence. Your appearance is the most immediate physical evidence of what you believe yourself to be. When you present yourself with care, you aren't just getting dressed up. You are practicing what Hill would call autosuggestion in its most concrete form. You are showing your own subconscious with visible proof the person you decided to be. That is why a transformation of appearance so often precedes a transformation of life, and not the other way around. Think of a woman who, after a painful separation, decides that the first change won't be her job, nor her city, nor a new course. It will be the way she presents herself to the world. In the first few days it feels like an act. She dresses like the woman she wants to become and still feels like a fraud. But the subconscious does not distinguish rehearsal from performance. In a few months, the posture became a habit, the habit became an identity, and the identity began to make decisions that the old woman would never make. She didn't get prettier. She became sharper. And here I want you to do something right now, not at the end of the video, right now. Write in the comments the phrase, "I present myself as who I decided to be." Not as a gesture for me but as the first physical evidence of your decision. Your subconscious is reading. And if identity is what you believe yourself to be, the next layer of our descent is what holds any identity upright. Discipline. An ancient philosopher taught that no man is free if he is not master of himself, and the entire ancient philosophy rests on this idea. Mastery over one's own life begins with mastery over small things. Your appearance is the most visible training ground for that sovereignty. Not because clothes matter in themselves, but because taking care of yourself every day, even on days when nobody is going to see you, even on days when you don't feel like it, is a daily exercise in self-government. Perhaps you have never thought of it from that angle, but the person who keeps themselves presentable on ordinary days is proving to themselves, in silence, that they keep internal agreements. And whoever keeps small internal agreements develops the strength to keep the big ones. Think of two brothers raised in the same house. One of them decides at 20 years old that he would never leave the house without being minimally put together, not out of vanity, but as a pact with himself. The other thinks that is foolish. 20 years later, the first one hasn't just built a good image. He built, in that small daily ritual, the structure of consistency that supported every project in his life. The second one lives in a cycle of constant restarts. The difference between them was never talent. It was fidelity to small promises. But then the inevitable question arises, and it takes us to the deepest layer of all. If taking care of oneself is so powerful, why do so many good, capable, and intelligent people abandon themselves? Let me be brutally honest. Neglect of one's image is almost never laziness. It is anesthesia. We have reached the root, and the root is this. People didn't stop taking care of themselves because they stopped caring. They stopped taking care of themselves because they gave away their attention, and where attention goes, care follows. The modern world has built a perfect attention hijacking machine, and every hour dissolved in screens, in infinite scrolls, in other people's lives, is an hour taken away from the only life you actually inhabit. Think of a young man who spends 4 hours a day watching the flawless routine of people he admires, while his own clothes for the next day are wrinkled on the chair. He knows the habits of others better than his own. He admires from afar the discipline he refuses to practice up close. This changes everything when you realize it. Self-abandonment doesn't happen on one dramatic day. It happens in invisible micro-decisions, every time you choose to observe instead of exist. The person you see in the mirror today is the accumulated result of where your attention went over the last few years. And this realization, which seems harsh, is actually the best news in this video. Because if the descent this far was made of choices, the ascent will be too. Now we reverse the path. We descended from the closed door to the root, and the climb back up is the method. Regain your attention and you regain your care. Regain your care and you rebuild your discipline. Rebuild your discipline and identity becomes established. Establish identity and your self-image changes. Change your self-image and your attitudes change on their own, because nobody has to force themselves to act like who they believe they are. And when attitudes change, the silent tribunal up there, the one that never warned you about anything, begins to decide in your favor in rooms you don't even know. In practice, this begins tomorrow in the first minutes of your day before handing your mind over to your phone. A few minutes in front of the mirror, not to admire yourself, but to prepare yourself like someone assuming a post. The clothes chosen the night before, like an agreement signed with your tomorrow self. An upright spine walking through any door as a physical reminder of who is arriving. Too small to look like a transformation, too consistent not to become one. You have made it this far, and that already says something about you, because most gave up in the first few minutes just as they give up on almost everything. So I end with the only question that matters. Back at the beginning, I spoke of a door that closed without warning. It already closed for you at some point and you never knew. The question is, how many doors are still open at this precise moment, waiting to see who shows up? Nobody is going to warn you when they start to close. But from today on, you no longer need a warning because you know exactly what they are reading. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe to the channel, leave a like and share it with someone you respect too much to watch them abandon themselves in silence. And if you haven't written in the comments yet, right now, I present myself as who I decided to be. That phrase is not for me. It is the first door you open. I will see you in the next video.